After being reborn, I did not choose the powerful prince as I did in my previous life. Instead, I knelt in the harem for 2 days and 2 nights, begging His Majesty to revoke this arranged marriage, all because, in my past life, Prince Chi-yu mistakenly embraced the wrong person on the street, confusing me for his beloved. Everyone thought I was about to become the princess consort, destined for a lifetime of love and affection. But only I knew that Chi-yu had long been secretly preparing a death sentence tailored just for me. In this life, I refused to let him twist right and wrong again, staining the underworld with my blood, so I turned and said to the Empress, "Aunt, I wish to fulfill the marriage alliance with the Hu family of the Northwest." Hello, everyone, welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now the story begins. After kneeling for 2 days and 2 nights, I was carried into the palace hall. The Empress spoke with a weary expression. "Just a mere concubine, even if she is with child, she could never surpass you. Auntie will take care of it for you." I jolted awake and hurriedly grabbed the nanny who was carrying the food box and heading out. This time, I knew it contained an abortion drug. Because of that bowl of medicine, Bai Yunyun harmed her body and became infertile for life. Chi-yu hated me to the core. Yet he no longer spoke of breaking off the engagement. Instead, he married me with all the proper ceremonies and rituals. I knelt down and bowed, my tone resolute. "Aunt, it is not because of the concubine's pregnancy. It is because I did not know before that Chi-yu had someone he loved. This marriage was something I forced upon him." "Forced? Did you force him to embrace the wrong person on the street? If you don't marry him, who in the capital would come to propose? Do you want to spend the rest of your life in solitude with a dim lamp and Buddhist scriptures?" I lowered my gaze. While my father was still alive, he arranged a verbal engagement for me. The queen was even more enraged upon hearing this, but before she could speak, a palace attendant announced the arrival of the Prince of Ning. I felt the chill in his eyes and was taken aback. This had not happened in my previous life. "Mother, Ju Inshu attempted to poison the royal heir. I cannot rest easy marrying such a venomous woman. I implore you, Mother, to revoke the decree." Chi-yu had always been certain that the idea of that bowl of abortion medicine was mine. "I have yet to report this matter to His Majesty. I implore you, Mother Empress, to grant the annulment of the engagement and allow Miss Ju to return to my residence with me, to kowtow and apologize to Lady Bai. Let this matter be put to rest." His tone was icy, each word a threat. He no longer seemed like a prince still biding his time, but more like the decisive and unyielding Prince Ning he would later become. The queen's face darkened as she forced a smile. "Where did you get this news? Insu has been in my palace all along. How could she possibly do something as heinous as harming the royal heir?" He didn't know that I had already intercepted the abortion drug. He insisted on summoning the servants from the estate, only to be told that Bai Yunyun was perfectly fine. He glanced at me subtly, the confusion on his face quickly turning into understanding. When he spoke again, he no longer brought up the matter. "As long as the marriage contract stands, if anything happens to the Bai family or the child in her womb, I will be the first to suspect you, Miss Ju." I bit my lower lip hard, pleadingly looking at my aunt and shaking my head gently. The Empress rubbed her temples and waved her hand, saying, "You may leave for now. The matter of the marriage arrangement will be decided after I discuss it with His Majesty." I breathed a sigh of relief, seeing a glimmer of hope. On the way out of the palace, Chi-yu dismissed the attendants. "Ju Inshu, once Yunyun's child is born, I will rightfully make her my official wife. You'd better not cause any trouble," he continued to threaten. "I wouldn't mind marrying you again. If you're not afraid of death, keep making trouble." The despair and suffocation from my death in my previous life seemed to crawl over me once more. I trembled involuntarily. "I have no intention of clinging to your highness. If you are uneasy, I will enter Wangwa Temple to pray for her blessings after leaving the palace. I pray to the heavens that you two remain entangled until death and completely vanish from my life." Chi-yu curled his lips in satisfaction. "We'll talk about blessings later. For now, you'll come back to the manor with me and apologize to Yunyun." I looked up in shock. Whether in the past or now, I've never done anything to harm her. Why should I apologize? Yunyun knelt to greet you every day, and on holidays she had to perform full kowtows. She spent a lifetime kneeling to you, now it's only fair that you kneel in apology for your own malice. Ha, was she kneeling to me? She was kneeling out of her own guilty conscience. He could see my reluctance and ordered someone to forcibly restrain me. Just outside the palace gate, Bai Yunyun stood anxiously by the carriage. Looking around, Qiyu strode forward, embraced her, and his trembling hands covered her slightly swollen belly, as if it were a treasure lost and found again. Bai Yunyun nestled happily in his arms, but upon seeing me, she struggled violently. The future mistress is here. How dare I be so presumptuous? Your Highness, please let me go. I rolled my eyes. Such a scene was all too familiar and eye-rollingly tiresome. Qiyu finally remembered my presence beside them. Yunyun, you don't have to fear her. In this lifetime, I will never give her another chance to hurt you. I let out a cold laugh, mocking his blindness and foolishness across 2 lifetimes. He seized me and kicked the back of my knee. My knees slammed heavily onto the bluestone pavement. I struggled. Qiyu, I'm not wrong, it hurts. My knees, already sore from kneeling for 2 days, now ached as if they were broken. Cold sweat beaded on my forehead, and the corners of my eyes were red. Qiyu said coldly, apologize. I gritted my teeth, holding back my tears without uttering a word. Most of the palace servants around looked at me with contempt. Even the eunuchs who tried to run into the palace to report the news were all stopped by Qiyu's men. Passers-by at the palace gate were whispering and gossiping. It was just a few days ago that she threw herself at the prince in the street to marry him, truly shameless. Now she's getting her just desserts. I heard she's even the niece of a noble in the palace. How is such behavior any different from a prostitute? It's utterly disgraceful. She ought to be punished in a pig cage. In my past life, I had no way to refute these rumors, but now I insist on speaking up for myself. My voice strained from my throat, each word dripping with anguish. Qiyu. It was you who mistook me and embraced me in the street, only to twist the truth afterward. Such a hypocrite. Bai Yunyun covered her mouth, retching, her eyes brimming with tears as she looked at Qiyu. Your Highness, my stomach hurts so much. Qiyu's gaze was cold and sharp, looking at me as if he wanted to kill, and he ordered, gag her and take her back to the mansion. He held Bai Yunyun in his arms and went to the palace to seek the imperial physician for her. I was taken to Qiyu's residence and casually thrown into a room where someone had died. The stench of decaying corpses wafted into my nostrils, and I vomited all over the floor in disgust. The sky was dim, and I fainted from hunger, only to wake up drenched in a splash of cold water. Qiyu pinched my face and said coldly, Yunyun was so startled by you that she suffered a miscarriage. How can you still sleep peacefully? Do you know, I really wanted to cut your tongue off just now. He approached me with a dagger, the cold blade pressing against my face, making my hair stand on end, but then he changed his tone. However, for the sake of Yunyun and the child's blessings, I'll let it go. I've prepared another gift for you. No sooner had the words been spoken than the servants carried in one after another corpse with eyes wide open in death. My face turned deathly pale, and my stomach churned violently. Qiyu, you are not human. Among the corpses were those bloated into the grotesque form of giantism after drowning, some skinned all over and left a bloody mess, others dismembered by slow slicing until only skeletal remains were visible. Without exception, the necks of these corpses were all broken by white silk ribbons. The room was filled with corpses staring at me, their eyes filled with resentment and unwillingness, as if each pair of eyes concealed a vengeful evil spirit. I couldn't help but tremble, my teeth chattering, and my whole body covered in goosebumps. When I was a child, I once got lost and was later found by my father and mother. Only then did I realize I was in a mass burial ground. When countless flames illuminated before my eyes, I was scared into a faint by the chaotic sight of decaying corpses. Qiyu clearly knew this was a nightmare I could never escape from in my entire life. Qiyu chuckled softly, I know you're afraid of the dark, so I specifically had the mad candles. With them keeping you company, you won't be lonely through the long night. My entire body went limp and collapsed to the ground. In that moment, I couldn't even scream from my throat. I clutched tightly at Qiyu's clothes, my voice trembling. I'll go with you to apologize to Bai Yunyun. You, let me out. Qiyu sneered coldly, cutting off that piece of clothing with a knife. The sound of the lock clicking shut echoed, leaving me alone with a room full of corpses. I closed my eyes. But the stench of death was so thick it made me nauseous, and the horror of being watched by the dead was everywhere. Their tragic, lifeless faces seemed etched into my mind, surfacing in my thoughts every moment. I held my head and screamed in utter despair. It felt like an eternity had passed before I began talking to myself. I even saw my deceased parents. We embraced each other, crying and laughing together. The door was violently forced open, the sunlight blinding. And someone shouted before pulling me into their arms. It was the nanny by my aunt's side, weeping bitterly. "Does your highness still have any regard for the Empress? How could you humiliate my lady like this?" Chi Yu's tone was indifferent. "She's not dead yet, is she? You should be grateful she's still alive." It's no wonder he was so dismissive. After my parents passed away, my aunt had no support from her maternal family, was at odds with the emperor, and had only one daughter as her offspring, making her life in the palace extremely difficult. I was taken to my aunt's palace, sitting up all night without sleep, and during the day, I was listless and vacant. The maids attending to me were whispering behind my back, "Have you heard? Last night, someone knocked on the palace gate late at night, kneeling and begging the imperial physician to help Lady Bai with her pregnancy. What you don't know is that His Highness called for the physician because he's been indulging with Lady Bai every night while she's pregnant, and his lack of restraint has disturbed the fetus. If that's the case, Lady Bai must have some extraordinary skills. How could Our Lady, who's about to marry into the family, stand a chance against her?" I sneered inwardly. In my previous life, when I gave birth to his child, I was in labor for 2 days and 1 night due to a difficult delivery. Finally, the child was born, but I was on the brink of death. The midwife said, "Your Highness, please summon the imperial physician from the palace. The princess consort is in critical condition." Lying in the delivery room, I only heard his voice, colder than the wind and snow in the depths of winter. "Knocking on the palace gates at night is a grave offense. What about her is worth me risking such a taboo? Do I not have enough impeachment memorials against me already?" So it turns out he would break palace rules for someone, just not for me. Even if I were to die right before his eyes, perhaps out of sheer unwillingness to accept it, I stubbornly clung to life. But looking back now, it would have been better to die that day, at night. My aunt the Empress stroked my head and slowly explained to me, "Chi Yu has angered His Majesty now. No one in the palace dares to mention a single word about him. In a few days, I will try again." I shook my head and made up my mind to ask, "Has there been any letter from the Hu family in the northwest?" "Aunt, please don't hide it from me. The Hu family was the one my father had arranged for me in a verbal engagement when I was young. Later, they were demoted to the borderlands after committing an offense. In my previous life, he sent a letter after hearing about my situation, saying that if I were willing to marry, he would surely come to wed me. My aunt disliked that family for their decline and never told me. In this life, he is my chance to break free from the mire." The Empress paused, her warm tears falling onto my face, one after another. It was scalding hot, each drop searing my heart. She held me tightly in her arms, squeezing until my bones ached. My Xianyi was married off to Morbei for the sake of the Great Qi Alliance, and now you too must marry far away. Insu, I have already lost one daughter, I cannot bear to lose you as well." My heart twisted, and my lips trembled, unable to utter a word of refusal. Perhaps fearing my determination to marry far away, my aunt risked the Emperor's wrath the very next day by bringing up the matter of breaking off the engagement. Unexpectedly, His Majesty promptly issued an edict to withdraw the marriage decree. I cried my heart out for a whole day, and my eyes regained their sparkle. My aunt immediately began arranging my marriage prospects, but every well-established family in the capital politely declined the matchmaking. The edict of annulment had just been issued when Chi Yu couldn't wait to enter the palace. He knelt before the emperor, apologizing with a rod on his back, and pleaded for Bai Yunyun to be elevated to the main wife, all because the imperial physician said she was carrying twins. After all, this would be the emperor's first grandchildren. Considering this sentiment, the emperor granted her the title of consort. On the day Chi Yu brought Bai Yunyun into the palace to express their gratitude, I collided with them in the corridor. and the portraits in my hands scattered all over the floor. These were all the young men from noble families that my aunt had selected for me. His usually calm eyes stirred with an inexplicable emotion as he kicked all the portraits into the lake. He gripped my wrist tightly, gritting his teeth. "Who allowed you to marry someone else? I only refused to make you my principal wife. I never said you couldn't be a concubine." I frowned, unable to believe what I was hearing. "Your Highness, please show some restraint. We have no relationship now, by union." Hearing Chi Yu's words, flashed a look of resentment in her eyes. She clutched her stomach and cried out in pain. "I don't know why, but every time I'm with Miss Ju, my stomach just doesn't feel right, Your Highness. Could it be that Miss Ju and these two children are incompatible?" Chi Yu thought of the karmic debts from his past life, released his grip, and seemed somewhat convinced. "Let's wait until the child is safely born. I'll tell the families in the capital that you are the one I've chosen. They wouldn't dare to marry you anyway. In a few days, I'll come to take you to the Temple of All Nations to pray for the child's blessings." I scoffed. "Suit yourself. Anyway, the more I see these people, the less I want to marry. It wouldn't be a bad idea to just become a nun later, overnight." The families who were once willing to consider a match all backed out, and my aunt was so worried that she grew a few more white hairs. In the end, she handed me a letter from the Hu family and a portrait. "Auntie can't selfishly keep you tied down. No one can accompany another for a lifetime. The capital is too bitter. Go out and see the world on my behalf." Tears smudged the ink on the letter. A mix of reluctance and hope. On the day I set out, Chi Yu entered the palace to escort me to the Temple of All Nations. He looked at the dozen carts of belongings I had packed, his eyes blazing with anger, and kicked over a chest at his feet. "Praying for blessings is not for pleasure. What this hall despises the most is your two-faced heart." The attending palace servants instantly dropped to their knees, for the jade comb bestowed by the emperor had been broken. I stepped forward to pick it up and calmly met his anger. "This is a bridal gift bestowed by His Majesty. Destroying an imperial gift is a grave act of disrespect. Has Your Highness considered how you will atone for this offense?" Chi Yu's face changed abruptly, his eyes widening in shock. "What dowry? Are you getting married?" He felt as if something was slipping out of his control. "That has nothing to do with Your Highness. Your Highness should instead consider how to explain this to His Majesty." I met his cold, sharp gaze and said word by word, "I beg Your Highness not to delay my auspicious hour for marriage. Ju Inshu, are you putting on a show for me? In your past life, you begged shamelessly to marry into this family, and now you throw a tantrum when offered the position of a concubine for a second chance." He spoke in a condescending tone. "Once you bear a child, I might consider making you my secondary consort." I let out a cold laugh. "Your Highness, that day at the palace gate, I didn't finish my words. What I meant to say was, a hypocritical scoundrel like you in this lifetime. I would rather die than marry." His gaze cut through me like a knife. But I boarded the carriage without looking back. The hand he raised toward me was intercepted by the eunuch beside His Majesty. "Your Highness, His Majesty requests your presence." The carriage passed through the palace gates, then the city gates, and halfway along the journey, I encountered Hu Xinyuan. Soon I realized I had been deceived by the painting. He wore the gentle white robes from the portrait, but his temperament was anything but gentle. That night, we didn't make it into the city and ended up camping and lighting a fire in the outskirts. He suddenly spoke up. "Don't move, there's a snake beside you." For a moment, I froze, not even daring to blink. Then came his burst of laughter. "You forgot I just scattered a circle of realgar." The laughter stopped abruptly when it met my calm, unruffled eyes. "Don't you want to hit me?" I asked in confusion. "Why should I hit you? I lied to you. Aren't you angry?" "Just a little." He shook his head and said, "No, that's not right. I lied to you. I teased you. You should be angry." I was astonished by his sharpness, but my heart was indeed calm and unruffled. He tapped his own chest. "You should be sick here." I touched my beating heart and retorted, "No, it's beating very strongly." He took the sachet from his waist and handed it to me. "It's for sleep aid. I wouldn't want you to collapse from insomnia halfway through the journey." I caught the scent of herbs from the sachet, and my whole body relaxed, my heartbeat easing along with it. I heard his mother came from a family of physicians. I smiled and thanked him. "Sorry for the trouble. Did I disturb you at night? He answered a question with something irrelevant. If you don't feel like smiling, then don't. It hurts my eyes to watch. I stopped smiling and said expressionlessly, all right. He glared at me again, and I didn't understand why. Then I heard him mutter loudly, you stop smiling just like that. Why are you so obedient? I traced the patterns on the sachet, a smile tugging at the corner of my lips, laughing at how he was acting like a petulant child. I looked up to meet his dazed expression. And he said, smiling like that is just unfair. He occasionally came out with these novel phrases, and I tilted my head in confusion. Unfair how? He explained, it means I'm praising you for your beautiful smile. I purse my lips. Thank you for the compliment. Although you're not well educated, I don't mind you. He instantly becomes defensive. What do you mean not well educated? That's the dialect from my hometown. He clears his throat and begins, Guan guan, the ospreys cry. Peach tree young and tender, to the south there are tall trees. That night, he recited dozens of love poems in one breath, and I closed my eyes, feeling very content. After I followed Hu Xinyuan to Yunju, I received a letter from my aunt. The letter said that Qi Yu had been placed under house arrest by His Majesty for damaging an imperial gift. Yet he appeared on the day of my grand wedding with Hu Xinyuan. Qi Yu stood by the window in dark robes, having watched me for who knows how long. He watched me trace my brows and redden my lips, realizing he had never seen how I looked on my wedding day. In our past life, on our wedding day, he was still drowning in the grief of losing our child and drank heavily. I woke up to find myself in Yunyun's room. The next day when we met again, I asked him with a smile, headache. Thinking he had seen through my underlying meaning, he sneered, Yunyun took good care of me. Don't even think of using this to make things difficult for her. My smile faded, and the light in my eyes dimmed bit by bit. The moment he turned around, he saw the hangover soup on the table still steaming. An accident left me pregnant. Bai Yunyun cried her heart out, and he vowed never to set foot in the main courtyard again. After I started showing, Bai Yunyun often thought of the child she had lost. Holding a pillow every day and calling it my baby, he stepped into my courtyard again. I set down the tiger head shoes in my hand, the winter boots I had specially prepared but hadn't yet given him, when I heard him say, from now on, the consort shall remain in the courtyard and is not to leave without permission. But it wasn't enough. Yunyun said she wanted that child. For this, she attempted suicide 3 times. Qi Yu, holding the blood-soaked Bai Yunyun in his arms, finally nodded in agreement to register my child under her name. He took it for granted that this was what Ju Inshu owed Yunyun, a debt to a child, and the position of a princess consort. He thought to himself, all the debts from the previous life had been repaid, and starting over in this life wouldn't be so bad. Thinking of all the heartfelt intentions that were betrayed in my past life, Qi Yu's voice softened. Yin Shu, I've come to pick you up. Come back to the capital with me. My hand trembled so much I nearly messed up my eyeliner. Before I could speak, I heard Hu Xinyuan's voice. You've got some nerve, just showing up to snatch the bride. Does your father know about this? I sighed. The time hasn't even come yet. Why are you here so early? He hung the new sachet on my waist as if no one else was around. Afraid you might not sleep well. It's a newly blended calming incense. A loud crash came from the window. It was Qi Yu punching the window frame. He cursed. Unfaithful, fickle and wanton. Ju Ishu, I'm giving you a chance, don't be ungrateful. Qi Yu rushed over and punched him to the ground, raining blows down on him. You blind and heartless, two-timing scoundrel, a dog's mouth can't spit out ivory. Although there were many words I couldn't understand, it sounded like some really harsh insults. I widened my eyes and hurriedly stepped forward to pull him back, but deep down, I couldn't help feeling a sense of satisfaction and excitement. Qi Yu shouted, I am the Imperial Prince. How dare you defy your superior? Watch out, or I'll have you killed. Hu Xinyuan targeted places where no marks would be left. You dare to defy the Emperor's orders, so my offense is just a drop in the bucket. As the auspicious moment was about to arrive, Hu Xinyuan finally stopped. Qi Yu completely passed out, and he dragged the man away as if hauling a dead dog. Hu Xinyuan's peach blossom eyes blazed as he looked at me. Wait for me to come get you. I nodded heavily. Okay. A dense, tingling itch spread through my heart. Hu Xinyuan was different from all the men I had ever met. though I couldn't quite put my finger on how. He would carry me over the brazier, ignoring the matchmaker's warnings, and on our wedding night, he stopped what he was doing and turned to make a bed on the floor, all because he saw hesitation in my expression. That night was the first time I slept soundly after suffering from insomnia. The dream became increasingly chaotic, and in an instant, all the corpses in that room turned into Hu Xinyuan's face. Aishu, Aishu, Aishu. I heard his voice, struggling in the nightmare, unable to wake up. He hurriedly ran out, and as the bitter medicinal liquid entered my mouth, I finally woke up. He held my trembling body in his arms, gently patting my shoulder. Tears soaked his red inner robe, and he kissed my swollen eyes with heartache. Aishu, I'm here. He didn't ask anything. Just held me tightly. The next day during the tea ceremony, sister-in-law Hu asked, Xinyuan was brewing medicine late into the night. Could it be that you have some hidden ailment? Sister-in-law, you must not conceal your illness for fear of treatment. My heart tightened, and I unconsciously rubbed the sachet in my hand. Hu Xinyuan set his teacup down heavily. Sister-in-law, you could have expressed your concern privately. It's highly inappropriate to ask such a thing in front of everyone. Sister-in-law chuckled awkwardly. Aren't I just worried it might affect your ability to have children? Who else would I be doing this for? Mother hasn't even spoken yet, and you're the first to speak up. Mother who took my hand. Your sister-in-law just has a habit of speaking her mind too quickly. Don't take it to heart. Xinyuan will be in your care from now on. We're all on your side. My anxious heart eased a little, and now hearing their bickering just felt lively and warm. This kind of liveliness was something I hadn't experienced since my parents passed away. When Chiyu came to Yunju again, he arrived with great pomp and circumstance. It seems that in this lifetime, he had fallen out of the Empress' favor, and was given the remote Yunju as his fiefdom. Coincidentally, the Hu family had been reinstated by the emperor and was moving to the capital. The entire party ended up staying at the same relay station. Upon learning this, Hu Xinyuan cursed. What awful luck, I nodded in agreement. Exactly, exactly. He was immediately flicked on the forehead by Mother Hu. If you don't fix this habit of speaking without thinking, you'd better not step out of the house once we reach the capital. I nodded with a smile. Mother is right. Hu Xinyuan pinched my cheek. Aishu, whose side are you really on? I couldn't speak. Laughing so hard I swayed unsteadily. He immediately came over to steady me. I leaned into his embrace and, looking up, caught sight of Bai Yunyun upstairs. I couldn't help but glance at her flat stomach, remembering the letter from my aunt that mentioned she had miscarried. After Chiyu returned from Yunju and was released from confinement, he immediately took in 2 concubines. In her desperation to secure his favor, she neglected her postpartum recovery, and now she may struggle to have children in the future. For some reason, Bai Yunyun's gaze at me was even more venomous than in my past life. It wasn't until I saw the 2 familiar concubines by Chiyu's side that I instantly understood. One had eyes and brows like mine, the other had a silhouette and figure resembling mine. Chiyu looked at me, drinking one cup after another. I have no idea where this deep feeling came from. Hu Xinyuan gritted his teeth and said, "How shameless." I grabbed him just as he was about to get up, afraid he might impulsively go poison the kitchen. He laughed in exasperation. "Let go, I'm going to get you some calming soup." I shook his sleeve, smiling sweetly. "All right, hurry back soon." But the usually effective medicinal soup failed to work tonight. In my dream, the corpses that filled the room suddenly began wailing at me one by one, surrounding me and crying out in my ears. The cries grew louder and closer until I woke up choking in thick smoke. Outside the window, flames shot into the sky, and hurried, chaotic footsteps were everywhere. "Fire, fire." Hu Xinyuan quickly poured the water from the teapot onto the cloak and then covered me with it. The doors and windows had long been blocked from the outside, leaving what seemed like only a dead end. Amid the flames, Bai Yunyun stood outside the door, laughing maniacally. "Ju Ishu, just die. And those 2 bitches, why do you keep haunting me like this? Go and be buried with my children. It's all because of you. You must have brought them bad luck and caused their deaths." Hu Xinyuan, carrying me on his back, was kicking the door with less and less strength. My vision started to blur, and the skin all over my body felt as if it were about to burst. The last to barge in was the burly eldest brother of the Hu family, who grabbed us one by each hand and led us out. Afterward, I held the medicine and gazed admiringly at the robust figure of the Hu family's eldest brother. My sister-in-law blocked my line of sight with a displeased look. Hu Xinyuan, control your wife. Hu Xinyuan spoke hoarsely and coolly. Let her look. For every extra glance, there will be
eyebrows smugly. After resting for a few days, just as we were about to set out, Chi Yu's men stopped us. His Highness specifically invites young Master Hu for a talk. I held Hu Xinyuan's hand, feeling uneasy. I want to go too. The man gently smoothed my furrowed brow. Don't worry, it'll be fine. I glared at him. Do you know how twisted a man who can't perform can be? What if he tries to kill you to silence you? Hu Xinyuan stifled a laugh. Then we'll meet underground, even as a ghost. I won't let you off. Furious, I punched him hard. Get lost. He leaned down and hugged me. Wait for me to come back. Chi Yu indeed had no intention of letting the person go back. He wanted to make me kneel and beg him. The moment he saw Hu Xinyuan's face, he couldn't wait to peel it off. After mentally playing out the process of killing and skinning, he spoke without any emotion. Hand over your secret recipe, and I will let you all leave. Hu Xinyuan curled his lips, clearly not buying it. But he still handed the prescription he had prepared long ago to the imperial physician behind him for verification. The imperial physician nodded and shook his head at the same time. Your Highness, this prescription can provide temporary relief, but it can only alleviate the symptoms, not cure the root cause. Chi Yu's voice was as cold as ice. How dare you deceive me? Hu Xinyuan shook his head. How would I dare deceive your Highness? This is only the first stage of the prescription. With a total of 4 courses of treatment, Chi Yu narrowed his eyes dangerously. You want me to let you leave? Naturally, at the end of each treatment, the new prescription will be delivered to your Highness on time. For a moment, no one spoke. Chi Yu felt as if his words were spoken in a daze. Fine, you may go. If you deceive me, you know the consequences. Hu Xinyuan shot an arrow toward his chest with a laugh. In this life, I will never let Aishu face danger. Your Highness, rest assured. Chi Yu watched us leave until we turned into small black dots in the distance. The wind seemed to carry his voice. From now on, you go to Xiaoxiang, and I go to Qin. Hu Xinyuan returned. I circled around him twice, completely and thoroughly, and only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. Without me having to ask what happened, he could tell the whole story in one breath without stopping. After those 4 treatments, what if he gets better and comes looking for us again? He leaned close to my ear and mysteriously revealed the final answer. After 4 treatments, he'll be drained of energy and die. I widened my eyes, looking at him in disbelief. Won't it be discovered? What about the imperial physicians by his side? Hu Xinyuan pinched my fleshy earlobe, his tone confident and calm. No one will ever know. My eyes sparkled like stars. Xinyuan, you truly are a miracle doctor. He raised an eyebrow. Of course, many people used to give me banners of appreciation. I knew that his before was a secret much like my own. We were alike, yet different. Then I'll prepare some for you too. Fill your pharmacy with them. Let your name be remembered for generations. Hu Xinyuan was coaxed into a wide grin, and after laughing, she said pensively, You're so good at sweet-talking. You must have charmed quite a few people before, haven't you? Hu Xinyuan is perfect in every way. Except for being a bit jealous, but I really like that about her. How could that be? I've only ever sweet-talked you in this lifetime. He crossed his arms and probed. What about in your past life? Hu Xinyuan, such a hard man to coax. Chi Yu was dead, a year after we returned to the capital. The news came just as Hu Xinyuan and I were having a snowball fight in the courtyard. The messenger on horseback cried out loudly. On the night of the 15th day of the 2nd month in the 18th year of the Qijing era, the Prince of Ning in Yunju has died suddenly. I stood frozen in place as a snowball flew toward me, hitting me square on the forehead. My face was numb and stiff from the cold, and tears began to fall, pattering down one after another. Hu Xinyuan rushed over anxiously, cupping my face in his hands. What's wrong? Where does it hurt? It's my fault. My fault. He gently blew on my reddened forehead. Blow, blow. The pain will go away. I laughed through my tears and immediately threw the snowball in my hand at his face. Got you, didn't I? The end dash.